children of all ages. Dirty Man Room Show proudly brings you Cards Subject to Change with Hassel. That's right, people. We from the island of Red Love to see today. It's just how we do it. And today's show, we got a kick-ass show as we got our Fans Choice winner show. So this was the one we done a Fans Choice a little while back on YouTube. You guys might have thought I forgot. I didn't forget. I've just been working on it. I'll be honest, this was one that I found incredibly more challenging to do than I thought it would be. But this week's winner and show is, what if Kane had a more meaningful WWF Championship run in 1998? Now, I say I found this to be a little more challenging than I thought it would be because, let's face it, people, in 1998, the WWF was all about Stone Cold Steve Austin. And that was just the bottom line, folks. That's just how it was. So I had to not only keep Kane as a champion and give him a meaningful run, but keep Austin at the forefront without burying either man. So that was a little bit challenging. Plus, as you know, titles passed like hot potatoes during this era. So that was also something we kind of wanted to get away from. Because if you really look back into like 98, 99, 2000, that title passed around like a fucking hot potato. Nobody had a long-term title run, unfortunately, of any significance. But I did want to get away from this fucking one-day title run that Kane had. Let's just face it, that was an abomination. That was even worse than the Undertaker getting robbed after Survivor Series way back when in 1990. So let's dive in, people. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of this thing, and let's do this. So, at the King of the Ring, June 1998, Kane wins his first blood match with Stone Cold Steve Austin to win his first ever, and at the time, his only WWF Championship. Now, the next night on Raw, as you know, in our timeline, Kane gets robbed, he gets hosed, he gets pantsed, and he loses the title back to Austin. But what if? What if in this timeline, he didn't? So on Raw, it opens up with Vince McMahon congratulating Kane and Paul Bearer on dethroning Stone Cold Steve Austin. The glass shatters. Out comes Stone Cold. He tells Kane he stole the title with the help of Mankind and Undertaker. He demands a title match tonight. Kane agrees. Backstage later, the Undertaker tells Austin he's got his back tonight if Mankind gets involved. So in the main event, WWF Champion Kane versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. Kane controls the pace with his power. Austin keeps up fighting back. But Vince and Mankind, they also come out at some point. Taker heads him off at the pass. Mankind and Taker begin to brawl. Austin turns and sees it. He's kind of distracted. When he spins around, choke slam, tombstone pile driver, and the 1, 2, 3, Kane retains. Man, that's got a ring to it, don't it? So on Raw the next week, Vince rewards Kane and Mankind with a tag team championship title match against, oh, you didn't know, the New Age Outlaws. Mankind and Kane would win the tag team championships in dominant fashion. After the match, Austin and Taker would come out, put the old blind side on our boys, and challenge them to a match at Fully Loaded. At Fully Loaded, Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Undertaker versus the tag team champions, WWF Champion Kane and Mankind. Now all hell will break loose in this match, and JR, he will be all over the place on the mic in this right here. You know how JR was during that era. We love it. We miss it. You can't get no better than it. Good luck in your recovery, JR. Fast-paced matchup with lots of actions. End of the match, Undertaker fights Kane to the floor while Mankind gets the stunner. And new WWF Tag Team Champions, The Undertaker and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, Raw would open up with Vince McMahon. He is irate over this because, you know, at this time, he didn't want Austin to have any small measure of success, happiness, joy, not even a good cold beer. So, he would state that Austin will face The Undertaker tonight to determine the new #1 contender to the WWF Championship at SummerSlam, as well as punishing Mankind in a match against Kane. Now, this match would not just be any old match, but it will be a hardcore match. We're all about hardcore from 1998, people. Kane and Mankind, they have old barn burner. It's a solid match. Mankind has a good solid showing, but during this era, Kane, he's just on another level, people. Kind of like somebody else we know now. The monster among men, the original monster among men, Kane. He gets the win, and the 1, 2, 3, leaving Mankind laying. In the main event, we get the Undertaker versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, these two just didn't have the best chemistry in the ring. I don't know what it was or why. If you go back and watch any of their matches, they just, by today's standards, they're probably a lot better. But by the standard back then, because let's face it, back then we had some excellent matches each week. They just wasn't very good. They didn't have good chemistry. They didn't gel for whatever reason. It's a shame. Both men are amazing workers. But decent matchup. Tons of interference from Vince. But Foley shows up at the end, hitting Austin with the chair, giving the Undertaker the dub and the #1 contendership. On Raw, the Undertaker would come out and cut a promo on Kane about SummerSlam. Kane and Paul Bearer would come out. Paul Bearer would tell Kane this would end much differently than WrestleMania did. Kane knows every weakness of the dead man. Undertaker, however, states that, like always, he will be his brother's keeper. And at SummerSlam, Kane will rest in peace. Later in the show, it is announced that Stone Cold will defend the tag team titles by himself against the New Age Outlaws, with none other than Mankind as a special guest referee. You know where this is going, people. SummerSlam, August 98. Austin drops the straps to the Outlaws when Mankind fast counts him. In the main event, WWF Champion Kane versus The Undertaker. Now we got a typical big man match here. We'll go 3.5 stars. No Meltzer rating this week, people. Austin comes down to screw Kane over, hits Taker, and by accident, the steel chair. I'm a little discombobulated today, people. Kane would then hit the choke slam on Austin, dropping him, covering the Undertaker to get the 1, 2, 3, and Kane retains. We already got a better run for Kane than he had back then. September Raw, Austin comes out and calls Mankind, Taker, and Kane out. Now, this is a typical Stone Cold promo on him. When out comes Vince. Austin, you want revenge? Okay. At WWF Breakdown for the WWF Championship, it is Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Mankind versus The Undertaker versus Kane. Austin says, that's more like it, you son of a bitch. Vince, however, oh, by the way, Mankind, Taker, and Kane, if you attempt to pin anyone other than Austin, you're fired. We got a lot of that back then, people. Now, Ross would be irate at this point. The chairman just stacked the deck against Austin. Stone Cold. We get a great build leading into this pay-per-view, though, however. Tons and tons of friction and infighting amongst all the combatants of the match. At Breakdown, Kane would retain by pinning Austin after Paul Bearer hit Stone Cold with the iron, people. On Raw, Kane and The Undertaker, the Brothers of Destruction, we get them together versus Stone Cold Steve Austin and Al Snow. I mean, come on, people. What does everybody want? A little head. So, if Austin team wins, he gets a title shot. And if not, Taker gets one. Now, Ross and King will both be scoffing like hell at old Al Snow being the partner of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Let's just face it, people. Al was an enjoyable segment each week, and he's a hell of a trainer, a hell of a talent, but he just was not star power. He was a new rocker, for God's sake. What does everybody want? A little head. Now, the crowd would pop for Snow as he would come down to the ring. We get a pretty good pop, but then that glass shatters. When that glass shatters, you know what we got, people. It's time. Future Brothers Destruction will come out next in a lopsided match with Snow doing a great deal of the bump taking. Austin makes a hot tag, and Kane and the Taker just pretty much are just too much. Kane pins Austin. After the match, Paul Bearer, Kane, and Taker are in the ring with the Brothers of Destruction, doing a stare down a little bit, getting ready for that old SummerSlam matchup. Then out of nowhere, Paul Bearer hands the Undertaker the Kane, the urn. Now Kane would pull his little, be looking all confused and discombobulated and whatnot. The next thing you know, Taker will blast Kane with the urn, setting him up for a tombstone pile driver. Then he would hand the urn back to Paul Bearer, get down on one knee, and kneel. Oh, yes, my Undertaker. Next week on Raw, we get the Big Boss Man versus Steve Blackman. In the opening match, Kane comes out, his fire erupts, and he comes and just destroys everybody, people. He's pissed off. Uses a little voice changer to scream, "The Undertaker," man. Who didn't remember? Yeah, come on, that was gold, people. That was some Vince Russo shit, but it was gold. This continues for every match. At the end of the show, Undertaker and the evil Ministry of the Darkness Undertaker and Paul Bearer would come out to close the show laughing at Kane. Next week on Raw, we get a recorded video package from the Dark Side with the Undertaker sitting on a throne with Paul Bearer right beside him. Paul tells Kane this was how it was always foretold. Long ago, his brother would finally give him the peace at last at Judgment Day. Now, Taker just gives an evil grin and a laugh at the end because, I mean, he was pretty sadistic during this era right here. When he hit his Ministry of Darkness, that was some cool shit. I liked it. It was a little dark at times, but hey, we dug it. On the go home Raw, it's WWF Champion Kane versus JEFF, JARRETT. Ha ha ha! That's double J, Jeff Jarrett, people. During the matchup, Taker and Paul Bearer would come out ringside. Kane finally gets him face to face and in his sight, and he just abandons the match altogether. Brawls with his brother out ringside, and out comes Farouk and Bradshaw, the Acolytes. The Acolytes jump Kane, and the ministry just leaves him laying with the Undertaker lifting the title high above his head. At Judgment Day, WWF Champion Kane versus The Undertaker. Now, we get an epic entrance by Undertaker at this point because, man, he's starting to really hit his stride with that new music and whatnot. Kane comes down. As soon as he hits the ring, Flames attack. He just jumps Taker's ass. He throws the belt as soon as the Flames hit. Really good matchup. Kane looks to have it won at one point. Then the Acolytes come out and attack Kane. Then that glass shatters, and out comes Austin. Him and Kane actually join forces at this point. Then comes Viscera, Big Daddy V himself. Total mayhem. The ref calls for the bell, and out comes Vince McMahon. Keep it going. Austin stuns Taker. Kane covers for the 1-2 ref snatch by Vince McMahon. And this would be when, for Vince, you get a choke slam and a tombstone pile driver by Kane him motherfucking self. 1, 2, 3. Kane retains the WWF Championship. Now afterwards, Stone Cold Steve Austin, he put that old stunner on Vince to close the show, leave everybody happy. On Raw, Vince will be in the ring with 30 armed officers demanding Kane to come down. The WWF Champion would come down to the ring. Vince would state that since Kane and Austin put their hands on the chairman of the WWF last night, he is stripping Kane of the title. Kane throws the title at Vince at this point. Officers go to reaching for their firearms. Vince demands that he get him out of here. Get that son of a bitch out of here. Cops escort Kane from ringside. Vince declares that a 16-man tournament will begin tonight for the WWF Championship that will end up at Survivor Series with a new champion. Austin and Kane, however, you are excluded for putting your hands on the chairman of the WWF last night. So in the main event, we get the first round matchup of The Undertaker versus The Rock. Oh, you didn't know? That was the New Age Outlaws. What the hell am I talking about? You better smell what we cooking, people. I'm a little out on it today. Of course, we get the ministry. You know how this goes. They get involved, and then out comes Kane and Austin, who join forces. They drive the ministry back. Undertaker turns around to a rock bottom, and the People's Champion goes on in the tournament. Now on WWF.com, we break the news that at Survivor Series, it will be The Undertaker versus Kane in an Inferno match. Moving into Survivor Series 1998, it's the 1 year anniversary of the Montreal Screwjob. So you know what happens. They reenact the Montreal Screwjob. The Rock goes from the People's Champion to the Corporate Champion, siding with Vince McMahon. So we still get all that hoopla and whatnot. But Kane and Undertaker, however, have an amazing Inferno match. Now, we get some incredible entrances by both men. Kane even comes down with the cape that we got early on. Decent matchup. Despite the limitations of the Inferno match, they make it work. Kane has the match in hand, but the Ministry and Paul Bearer help Taker win. After the match, they throw Kane in that double-sized casket, setting it afire with Kane inside. Now, Ross would lose his shit right here. That's a human being inside. Oh, my God. Help him out, people. We burn Kane up. Kane goes home for a little while, folks. We gone. He don't ascend into heaven like The Undertaker did when it happened to him. But, hey, you know, we get some shits. We fast forward to January 1999 and the Royal Rumble. Now, the ring's about half full at this point when the number 15th entrant comes out, and that fire erupts, and it's still burning, and it's no other than Kane. Now, Kane would come down to quickly eliminating 8 of the superstars like they were nothing more than insects to him when the lights go out and number 16 arrives, and it's none other than his brother of destruction, The Undertaker. Now, The Undertaker hits the ring, and before they can even have a good stare down, they realize there's 8 people in their way. They chunk all their asses out of the ring too, or 7 people left. They chunk all their asses out of the ring like they're nothing more than just a nuisance to the both of them. Then we finally get an epic stare down between the two. They begin to do their battle back and forth, and it just becomes a brawl, like a one-on-one matchup for some time there. Every time a new entrant comes out, they chunk his ass over like he shouldn't even be in there and go back to battling. But however, that number 23 entrant, glass shatters, and it's Stone Cold Steve Austin, people. Now, Steve Austin gets in there, and we get a little regularity back to the match at this point. When Steve comes in, he can hold his own against them. Then we start getting some people back into the ring. However, we get down to the final minutes of the matchup, and out comes number 30, and it's none other than Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Now, at this point, it's back down to Austin, Kane, and Taker. Vince comes in, and then Kane and Austin almost begin fighting each other on who's fixing to go fuck Vince up. But, however, they go to battling. The Undertaker gets into the fray. This is when Vince and the Stooges, that's right, we're going to bring the Patterson and Briscoe into this right here. The Stooges come with the help of Vince McMahon. They use the guy's momentum against him, throwing him over the top rope. Vince still wins the Royal Rumble. Now, the next night on Raw, Kane will be demanding a matchup with The Undertaker. Austin comes down at this point blaming Kane for not winning the Royal Rumble. Vince comes out smiling as he is the new winner of the Royal Rumble. Then says tonight in the main event, it's going to be Kane and Austin versus The Undertaker, Vince, and the corporate champion, The Rock. If you smell what The Rock is cooking. We get a fun main event here with Mankind coming down to fight The Rock, because at this time they were in the midst of a heated battle where they were trading the title back and forth. Pretty fun stuff. Kane chokeslams Taker. Vince running into a stunner from Austin for the 1, 2, 3. Kane and Stone Cold get the win. Now, St. Valentine's Day Massacre, 1999. We get Kane and The Undertaker for the last time in a last man standing match. I know, people, we've had a lot of Kane and Undertaker, but even with Kane having a substantial run with the title, you're just still going to get it, people. Kane gets his revenge and the win on The Undertaker. We close that chapter for some little time there as Undertaker moves on to do his thing where he continues the ministry and the corporation and just so forth and so on. Kane closes that chapter. He's firmly a babyface at this point, probably one of the hottest in the company with the exception of Stone Cold. Now, Vince, we still get their little cage match with Vince and Stone Cold where the Big Show arrives, throwing Austin through there. Austin gets the win on the #1 contendership for the corporate champion, The Rock, at WrestleMania. Now on Raw the next night, with The Undertaker behind Kane, Kane has a new fire in sight as the Intercontinental Championship is on his radar. Later in the night, we get Kane versus Intercontinental Champion Val Venus with Ryan Shamrock. Now this is going to be nothing more than a glorified squash match, people. Kane wins the Intercontinental Championship. Later in the night, Triple H will win a #1 contendership for the Intercontinental Championship. Now this is still babyface DX Triple H at this point. So WrestleMania 15, our match is set up as we get the Intercontinental Champion Kane versus Triple H. Now Kane will go on to have a pretty meaningful run up to WrestleMania with the Intercontinental Champion, being a dominant champion. However, as the build progresses for this right here, Chyna, who has just recently joined the corporation, she's going to come out each week and she's going to just try to lure Kane into the corporation. She's trying to get him in. And Kane, he is smitten, people. I mean, let's face it. Chyna 98, or no, this was 99 at this point. She was tough. She was tough, folks. So I can't blame our boy Kane for this. Now, Triple H, however, he's babyface DX as before Shawn returns. So you can just imagine the promos he would be cutting back on Kane and Chyna each week. We get a pretty good solid build there. I think it'll be a fun build leading into WrestleMania. But at WrestleMania 15, we get Intercontinental Champion Kane with Chyna versus Triple H. Now, this will be a wild ride right here. Both men looking really great. The bond of Kane and Chyna, very, very clear. Triple H gets color early in the match. However, Kane goes to set up for the chokeslam at one point when Chyna nutshots him, double-crossing Kane, letting him fall into none other than a pedigree from Triple H. Triple H gets the 1, 2, 3, and new Intercontinental Champion, Triple H. Now Kane, he would be all beside himself because he really loved Chyna, as Chyna and Triple H would embrace in the ring, not only signifying that it was a swerve the entire time, people. Triple H turns heel, and not only does Triple H turn heel, he joins the corporation, thus setting up Triple H's ascent into 1999 as the Game Triple H. So we still get it, people. But where does Kane go from here? A lot of things could go on with Kane. Kane is firmly a babyface at this point. Does he continue to go on into being the head of DX like he kind of did with X-Pac and the Outlaws? Does he say the hell of it? Does he return to being a monster? Does he join the corporation? What if? You tell me, people. Drop some comments below. Let me know what you think would happen. Because in the what if world, it's always what could happen. What road was not taken that could have been taken. But at the end of the day, we got to remember, the card is always subject to change.